Hello everyone, this is CJNovo992 and today we're back for another brand new video. In today's video we are in fresh off what was an enthralling, exciting, dramatic World Cup final. A World Cup final that saw two teams out there just battling and scrapping and giving everything that could possibly give. A World Cup that saw Messi win and get his World Cup and truly complete football in every single aspect. And also on the other side, the flip side of the coin, we saw a guy score a hat-trick in a World Cup final and lose, people. It truly had everything, but all that now is over. What's next, people? What's the very next game after the highest of highs at football and at the highest level? It's Aberdeen away. Slightly different, but it'll be better, people, right? Because we've actually got a horse in this race. So let's go ahead and discuss Aberdeen versus Rangers then, shall we? And as always, we will start off with the old oppositional preview and have a look at this Aberdeen side who at my current time of recording are of course sitting third in the old SPFL. Not only welcoming Rangers, by the way, but they're in their own part two of an old firm sandwich, ladies and gentlemen, as they played Celtic obviously at the weekend, and now they host us up at Pittodrie on what I imagine will be freezing cold conditions, and probably even colder on the park, especially if they're going to continue the way they played versus Celtic. Now I know people might come out here and say, well, they were very unlucky because they conceded a late goal and they only got beat by the one goal versus Celtic, but at the same time, people, that plan was putrid. Now, if you missed the game, congratulations, you've won Christmas, people. But if you watched the game, like I watched the game for you guys right here on the channel so I could preview this Aberdeen side, I watched that game. It's nearly finished me off, people. It was horrific for Aberdeen. Celtic had about 33 shots in the game. It was 81% of the ball. I think they'd done nearly 900 passes to, I think Aberdeen barely scraped 200. They had one shot overall in the game. They had 19% of the football. If you looked up anti-football in the dictionary, it wouldn't have that game of football. It would actually blush, people. If you saw that and you went, does that anti-football? Anti-football would be embarrassed by what Aberdeen put out there versus Celtic in a game of football that genuinely sare, people. But it's no surprise to me. Hell, me and you have sat here for many years talking about this exact thing over and over and over again. It's why our league is held back. It's why our league doesn't get more money. Companies aren't willing to spend money on our league. The Danish league makes more money than us, etc, because no one wants to pay to watch that level of anti-football week in, week out. That's the cold hard truth about our league. I know people try and blame Rangers and Celtic and all that all the time, but that is why nobody wants to pay to watch that. No one's going to sit here on a Saturday and stick that on willy-nilly unless their team is actually involved in it, people. But I'm kind of ranting and raving here, but it was simply horrific to actually watch for that. Some things genuinely never changing in this league. However, I do think there may be a couple tweaks to the Aberdeen coin coming in to this game, because not only have they faced a lot of criticism, because I don't know why everyone's acting surprised that they've seen that. We've seen Kilmarnock do it many years. We've seen Livingston doing it many years. Although Livingston's always got a wee bit of something going forward, Aberdeen literally offered nothing. I mean, they were punting long balls, people, to nobody. They were just kicking it away and sitting back in defending. It was pathetic, and they faced a lot of criticism. Jim Goodwin's came out even the last 2 days. The boy's getting roasted for pillar to post for the way that he went and approached that game, because again, not only did they park the bus, but it was just aimless long balls to nobody. People, nobody was there. So I think that will play its part in it, because he's been having to answer a lot of questions about it. But also, I think the fact that you look at Rangers Football Club right now, right? We take our heart and our heads and all that out of it. You look at Rangers, has there ever been a better time to play Rangers Football Club than right now? Especially on their park, way up there, on the type of atmosphere and night it's actually going to be. You look at us defensively right now. We didn't know if we have any centre-backs now, and we'll spoil that for you in the next couple of minutes. But if you look at Rangers over the last week, month, or in fact, there hasn't been a better time to actually go at our Rangers, because of the gaps and the spaces and the vulnerability that we've actually had in the defensive line, because we've had no centre-back. So I think all that will play its part in making Aberdeen a bit more braver in that one. But if you want a fun wee game before the game actually starts, if you want a wee indication of how it's going to go, if Aberdeen line up on paper on the 4-2-3-1 formation, that means they're actually going to go for it a little bit. They're actually going to have a wee bit of wing play, because again, despite everything we're actually talking about, I know they're getting heavily criticised right now because of how they played against Celtic. Aberdeen's actually been pretty solid this year. They have scored goals. I mean, taking yesterday's game out, people, they had scored in 7 consecutive matches. They have been getting the ball forward. They have been putting the ball in the back of it. The big number 9's very good at doing that if you give them a half chance, people. So they do have their own threat. And I think if they line up in the 4-2-3-1, they could cause Rangers some problems. You saw how much problems Hibs gave us the other day. But if they line up in the old 3-5-2, like they did versus Celtic, you know exactly what to prepare for, and that is a long grey hair evening. And with that being said, people, that's all I really got to say regarding Aberdeen. Again, we're not going to dive really into the bones of it, because we've done it not too long ago for when they came to Ibrox just before the World Cup break. There's not too much to actually break down from that end, but again, I'll say the same thing I said on that day. They have got good players, and when it clicks for them and when they actually try to play football, they can hurt teams, especially from the set pieces, the long direct balls that we seem to struggle with every single week. That is one of their main strengths, and that's how they get a lot of their goals. It's a knockdown, it's bringing into the box, and then it's having a shot. So there is quality there, and again, they'll always be up for it, especially when Rangers comes into town. That's when their stadium will be full, people, when Rangers comes to town. So I expect it to be a difficult afternoon, and Aberdeen will try and make it as difficult as possible. But again, without being arrogant or disrespectful to the opposition, it shouldn't matter how they want to approach this game. They will only ever be as good as we allow them to be. And again, I'm not being disrespectful. I think if you look at the calibre of the players that Rangers have got and everything like that, if our teams want to set up defensively or everything like that, we've got enough keys to unlock those doors that we should be able to rip up any defensive game plan that's actually been put in place by their manager. But again, having the ability and having the calibre of players today and actually doing it is completely different things. What will we get tomorrow? Soon find out. But with that being said, let's get over to the Rangers side of today's video, because again, we do face a very interesting, tough Aberdeen side. But what is this Rangers going to have in the locker, ladies and gentlemen? Because we got the 3 points versus Hibs, but as much warning signs in the first half as there were a lot of good things as well, and I was very positive with the second half performances and the way we went about our business. But the smile's starting to grow right here, because I'm going to just jump right to some very important news, which I think actually completes the picture of the game right away. So I'm not sitting here for 25 minutes taking up the rest of your day, people, because we found out from Michael Beale himself in his press conference that tomorrow, come in, closer, tomorrow we'll actually have centre backs on the park. Oh, come on, give yourselves a round of applause. Everyone was good this year. Santa has delivered the presents early. We're actually going to play with centre backs on the park. We done it, people. We got through to the other side. We had to watch centre mids playing centre back for about the last 4 months. We had to watch a Rangers team play with more goalkeepers on the park than centre backs on the park for the last 3 months. But it looks like, fingers crossed, that we have now got to the other side, as it's not just going to be one centre back in the game tomorrow. It's apparently going to be 2. So aye, you never know what you've got till it's gone. But now we know what centre-backs are. I can't wait. And there has been a lot of talk regarding, is it Connor Goldson? Is that why he was saved for Hibs? Or is it Ben Davies, who of course came back in to the mixer? Is he going to partner young Leon King, who of course signed a new long-term deal? Congratulations to the young man. Very excited about his future. I would love it to be Connor Goldson, but it does feel like it might be the latter of Leon King and Ben Davies. But if it's big Connor G, you know me, I'll be sitting here loving life, because he is my guy. And listen, you didn't need me to sit here and tell you the differences this will make to our side defensively, for set pieces, attacking set pieces and all as well. It's all clear. We've been crying out for it. We've been craving centre backs on the actual park, people. And again, for me, this is an important step in the right direction. Again, as I've said, even since Michael Beale's come in, it's no overnight, everything's fixed, we're the perfect side now, I'm expecting perfect results and perfect performances. It's not going to be like that, people, but for me, it's an important step in the right direction of building us back up to where we possibly can be under Michael Beale. So aye, it's another important step for Rangers, and again it's another important game for Rangers, as every game is must win. We need to go about our business and day things, and that brings me to my next man, who again is, I think, is going to be the focal point in the entire game, and that is going to be none other than Ryan Kent. For me, phenomenal versus Hibs, main part, and again he's been heavily spoken about by Michael Beale in the press conference, talking about he wants him to be able to roam everywhere. Doesn't he like him being out, stuck out there in the wing and not being able to express himself and everything like that? You can read into those quotes if you want. He wants him to be able to roam and go wherever he goes, because he is so two-feeted. So again, it looks like Michael Beale is talking up and backing up Ryan Kent and really fighting his corner in the press. So hopefully Kent can take that and go out in the park and express himself and be the Ryan Kent we know he can be. He showed it versus Hibs. Now it's time to do something he's not done for a long time, and back up good games with other good games. The manager's talking him up to the hilt, so now it's time for Ryan Kent to go in the park and do it. But where there's obviously good news regarding the centre-backs and the confirmation that Connor Goldson will be in the squad tomorrow, there is some other little updates regarding players that's missing out. Of course, we find out that Barisic won't be back until probably Motherwell because of the World Cup and everything. Although, I do think to myself, he's the only one that's been playing football, kinda. You know what I mean? He's not been playing too much for Croatia or anything like that. But should he not be more prepared than the boys that sat and done nothing for 4 weeks? I know Barisic played 3 minutes, but does he need a rest? I don't know. We'll leave it. Stephen Davies has actually picked up a little bit of a niggle, so he will be missing the game, as will Antonio Cholak, who should be back for Friday and everything like that. Will be back on Friday, I should say. Just a little bit of an injury they picked up the last training session before Hibs. Nothing too drastic to actually worry about. But again, Stephen Davies is going to go and get it seen. They don't know what's quite up with him. But again, for those Cholak fans like me, should be back very soon. But aye, if Morelos is in your fantasy team, keep him in right now, because he will be starting, and everything else remains the exact same people. Highlanders, the Suitors, everything like that. Kamal Roof's fine, he's able to play. You've got Hadji coming back mid-January/February, so everything else remains to be the same, and that is it, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not going to break down too much detail because we were here just a couple of days ago. I'm excited for the game tomorrow. I think it's going to be a very, very difficult game, but have we got the qualities to pass this test? Absolutely. It's about going out there and doing the actual job. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, all that's left for us today is to predict Rangers versus Aberdeen up at Pittodrie. It's never easy to do this prediction, but I just feel like a good performance is coming. I know it's everything against it. Like, if you put a paperweight, it'd be like, oh, it's going to be like 1-0 or maybe a 2-1 to Rangers. But I'm actually going to go Rangers 3, Aberdeen 0 right now, people. Tillman with the goals, Morelos getting in there as well, and that's the way I think it's going to go. Maybe a Tavernier penalty as well, actually. Might chuck that into the mixer. But what about you? Let me know your thoughts and opinions down there in the comment section below. And I enjoy the return of centre-backs. Hopefully it's a welcome return and not a Henry Cavill return, where it lasts very short amount of time. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I've been CJ992. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you tomorrow after the game. All the best, and bye-bye.